Dear son, you always told me you want to be like me when you grow up. You don't know how mad I get. Then again, every son's dream is to be like their father, so son, there is something I haven't told you yet. I want you to know that I love you, and I'm proud of you, and if there's one thing I'm grateful for, is being your father. Even though my immature ways brought you here, you are still purpose and kingship. I was never the type to bring a woman home to mama because daddy didn't teach me how to love a woman. In my eyes, the way dad loved mom, I thought if he made her cry and scream thinking it was laughter and tears of joy, then that's the same way I'll treat your mother. Or even touch her in a way that would make her Mount Rushmore overflow, reaching the highest peak in her voice. I guess that's how me and your mama made you. Sorry, but that's not the point. Sex couldn't keep her because what she wanted, I couldn't give to her. Love, affection, attention, intimate conversations. She used to be intimidated by me because I would come home drunk all the time, scared of what might happen in the nighttime. As time goes by and I don't come home by curfew time, she's scared of me loving another woman. But funny how she would tell me that just because your father did wrong doesn't mean you're going to make the same mistakes too. I mean, I made those same mistakes too. But your mama and I always loved you. She loved me too, and we tried to make it work, but once, twice, three times, too many, made her leave within a heartbeat. I guess joint custody isn't the same as full custody because I would rather have her here to raise this family with me if I wasn't so foolish. I messed up a great gem for a stone in the ground. I'm surrounded by loneliness. I feel empty inside, brokenness. I feel like now I took love as a college course. God's the teacher and I'm the student. Of course, life seemed to always throw me off course. I'm weak within the knees. I have exhausted all of my tears to the extreme. I can't breathe. I fell off in ministry. Yes, Daddy was committed to till his skeletons came out the closet, and he hasn't been the same ever since. Son, are you sure you want to be like feeble old daddy who decided to play football with the woman he loved, catches her heart when it's thrown, then fumble it with no regard or a thought of protecting it? Bible says the man should leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, yet I cleaved to mine and a few others on the side had my name in scandal. Olivia Pope was one of those ladies who had potential, but like Delilah, cut off my potential and exposing me for me, but death came in threes, and I had to bury me and two thieves that were attached to me, guilt and shame. So I'm sure you are waiting for the turn of events to change. Well, they have, cause one, what was within me died. My purpose and everything that God birthed in me came alive. I know I had a dark past, but face it, everyone else has too. But just because they have to doesn't mean their future is over too. So son, don't be scared to make mistakes because it will shape you into the man God has called you to be. So dear son, do you forgive me?
Thank you for tuning in to episode 31 with Uncommon Women. I'm your host, Shanera.
And Jenny Lee.
And today we're going to be speaking on divorce. We have never been married, so we will be giving advice on the surface of divorce, which is common reasons why divorce happen, ways to be ready for a divorce, and emotional changes for children and your well-being when going through a divorce. We don't expect every marriage to be perfect, and of course, we don't expect any relationship to make a decision of getting a divorce. But it happens. So today we're just going to jump into the basics.
Dating while you're separated. Yes, you can date someone else often after you separate. There is nothing legally wrong about dating while you are married and waiting on your divorce, as long as you are living apart. But both spouses must be living under different roofs. It is not considered separation if you're still living under the same roof. If you start dating before you are separated, it's called adultery. It can cause devastating impact on alimony. If you plan on going on a date with someone, make sure that they are married and separated. If you are separated and find yourself on the other end of a annihilation lawsuit, if you are facing divorce issues, I repeat, do not move into your new partner's place within weeks or months of separation. A judge can look at it as an affair was already happening. It can also cause impact on custody, case, or other implications.
That's very important. So, if you're going to be seeing someone else and you're still married, try to be at least separate from your spouse. You don't want to be roommates and seeing someone else, because when you guys go to court, they can use that against you for adultery. So, to go into some common reasons why divorces happen, the number one common reason is infidelity. That's definitely a big point in regards to why divorces occur these days. We have people getting not only emotional support from others when they're married, but physical support as well. And that can lead to you stepping out of your marriage.
Yeah, I agree. And it's the most common occurrence. They say that, especially, it just makes the marriage dissolve. Also, we have someone not telling the truth.
Yeah, definitely want to be able to communicate. Lack of communication in regards to a marriage will stress you guys out, for one, and also break up a happy home. You know, if you're yelling, giving nasty comments to each other, nobody wants to deal with that for a long time. Being in any relationship, especially a marriage.
Yeah, because honesty is the foundation of a relationship. So you have to be honest and transparent with each other, and I think that's important. Also, can't trust each other with money.
Yeah, money is a big one as well, and that can be a hold on relationships if someone loses a job, or they gotta move to a different location due to a promotion, and they both can't agree on moving. You know, that can hold stress in a relationship. If someone's bouncing from job to job, they can't keep a steady job, and you have one spouse being the breadwinner and the other one's not being supportive in regards to the relationship as well as the family. If they have children, that can be a stressor as well. So I agree with money being an issue. Another issue in regards to common reasons people get divorced is unrealistic expectations.
Oh yeah.
Some people, and I talk about this all the time, you can't expect to get in a relationship or even be in a marriage for them to fulfill your happiness. You know, your happiness has to come within. And that's something that you have to take care of prior to getting into a relationship, especially a marriage. You know, you got to be whole, and the person that you're going to be with as well has to be whole. You can't be going in expecting them to fulfill your happiness and to fulfill your love, because that lack of unrealistic expectations are going to lead to disappointment, and to them not being able to love you the way you want to be loved, especially if you're moving off of emotions, because your emotions change daily. Your emotions can change daily, so you definitely don't want to have that type of expectation on your husband or your wife while married.
Yeah, and I agree, because people tend to lose themselves, and they eventually, and they, like you said, Shanara, they put like these expectations on the marriage and on these roles, and sometimes you start acting in a way that's really not you, and you're like pleasing the other person, so it becomes more of their interest or just your interest as well. We also the relationship is truly toxic.
That's a good one.
Yes, when there comes abuse physical abuse, emotional abuse, and verbal abuse, and it can go beyond that as well, and that is something that you don't want in your marriage either.
Yeah, I've spoke to some people that have gotten divorces because of weight gain, and that's played a hardship on women that possibly had children, and they don't look the way that they looked when they got with that person, and those shouldn't be reasons why you would want to get with anyone, especially by their looks. That's going to change throughout time when you're thinking thickness and thin. You're definitely not going to be the same person that you were 20 years down the line, and you can't expect that person to be a supermodel 20 years down the line. I mean, if they are, that's good. If they're good health and they take care of themselves, but that shouldn't be a reason to be able to stream a marriage.
Yeah. Another one is things have gone stale in the bedroom.
Lack of intimacy.
Yeah, that I've heard from people that's been in relationships or married and divorced, where if they're lacking certain things in the relationship, that's how they go out and cheat. And then even though I've asked how why don't you sit down and talk to them? Well, I can't talk to them. Well, then there's lack of communication as well. So if you don't talk to that person and let them know, like, hey, this is lacking in this area, that's how, I guess, infidelity happens.
Yeah, and try to bring up those type of topics prior to getting married. Like, okay, well, I don't want to get too detailed in regards to the bedroom. Like, whatever you guys decide to do between the sheets, that's between you guys. But
exactly.
Maybe do some role playing or try to do some type of excitement. Maybe bring some toys in. I don't know.
Spice it up.
Spice it up. I don't know what people are, entwined into these days, but maybe bring that up prior to getting married, and communicate. Communicate is always a big thing. But definitely try to spice up your relationship in the bed and try some new things. Maybe surf online. I don't know. Google helps me out with everything, but try to look at some things online and talk it over with your partner. If you're not satisfied, talk it over with your partner. Like, hey, something's got to give, something's not right in the bed that's satisfying me. So try to talk it over to your partner, so that you to be able to satisfy each other.
People get married because they think they should.
Oh yeah, you see all the time where people go to Vegas and they're like, "Let's get married." It's like, what? Did y'all really think that out? So don't just get married off of the strength of wanting to be married. Be content with who you are first prior to getting married, and don't just get married because it's a new trend,
or even if you feel is the next step. You
right.
Gotta think logically and what you are stepping into, because marriage is a serious thing.
Absolutely. Even try getting counseling prior to getting married to see if you guys are compatible long term for marriage. Yeah. I think another reason people get married, or common reasons for divorce, is people don't prepare for marriage, yep. which goes with what we're talking about. Especially teens or people in their early 20s. They feel as though they got that high school sweetheart and they want to get married, and it's like, you haven't really lived life yet, and lack of preparation may fall into divorce because you weren't really ready to be married, or I see a lot with teenagers that their parents, provoke them to get married. Like, well, if you guys had a baby, you guys should get married. And I don't condone. I mean, there's a lot of things I can go into with that, but I don't condone getting married off of the strength of having a child.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely. I've seen, like I said, I've seen young, people get married and then they're divorced in the next few years.
2-3 years, right.
Yeah, because like you said, Shanaira,
they're still growing.
They're still growing and not prepared, Also, they decide to stop putting work into the marriage.
Yeah, like we talked about, not even just the bedroom, but try to keep things open
Yep.
in your marriage. Have date nights, and even if you have children and you guys are married, set time aside for the both of you away from the children to keep things spicy for your marriage. And it doesn't always have to be sexual, but it could be activities that you guys enjoy doing, or something that you guys did prior to having children.
Yeah, just do things. Though the same way you got her and the same way you got him is the same way you keep pursuing each other in a relationship.
Yeah, be persistent.
Yeah, because if you're not persistent, then the adventure stop.
Everything
The
dies
spice
down.
stop. The fire is gone. And we need that. Tell your wife, hey, you're beautiful. I'll help you with the dishes. It's a partnership.
Right.
A marriage is a partnership. It's not just 50-50 or 50-60 or anyone's
It's
getting
100,
yes.
100. It's all in.
Yes.
You definitely want to be on the same page. And common reasons people get divorced these days is because they don't do what they were doing to get the person that they were with. If you were there emotionally for that person, you got to continue doing that while you're married. And a big thing that can help with that, and we talked about this in other episodes, is the love language. Try to see what their love language is prior to getting married, because that'd be able to give you a effective way of being able to show them you love them. One person love language, in your past may have been gifts, but the person you're with now is acts of service. So she might enjoy you helping her around the house. So just try to see what their love language is. And that will go a long way in regards to your marriage.
Also, another one, they end up with different goals.
That's a good one.
When you're in a marriage, you guys talk about the same goals and what you guys want in the marriage, and how you're going to raise your kids and how you're going to do this and this and that. And you can be married 5 years down the road or 2 years down the road. That can all of a sudden change, and both of you are not on the same level of the things that you have talked about prior to the marriage. So when you go into the marriage, you're thinking you guys are in the same mindset and mentality and on that same level. Then 2-3 years later, the wife or the husband, they're like changing up on you, and it's because they have different interests. So when someone is not supportive to the other one, that can also cause a lot of conflict, in the relationship.
And that's a big one I see in regards to divorces as well. With change in income or change in jobs, like we said before, sometimes you do have to relocate, and you got to make a decision. Like, is this something that I'm willing to sacrifice? Is his or her job something that I'm willing to stop my career and put on the back burner for my partner? I've seen it happen where people, aren't ready for that type of change, and a lot of divorces happen in regards to that as well.
Yeah, like lack of communication as well. That's important.
We talked about that. Yeah. That's good. Now, even though people don't expect to get a divorce, no one wants to actually get a divorce. When we get married, we definitely want it to be dick and then, to death do us part. But some ways that you can actually prepare yourself for a divorce is to try to track expenses, and especially anticipate anything for the future as well. Build your budget. Try to make a list of things like household bills, food, clothing, entertainment, any home maintenance that you would have to take care of on your own. Because you got to realize, when you actually get a divorce, your income is not going to be the same income as it was two incomes, So you definitely got to try to track your expenses, gather some documents, like your investment accounts, if you have checking your savings account together. Try to calculate some statements to see how much you're spending each month in regards to being together, because you definitely want to prepare yourself to be able to handle a household by your home that include on your own. That includes any credit card statements, recent pay stubs, and definitely look at some income tax returns for the past 3 years, so you can try to see, how you're budgeting your money with two incomes. A researcher by the name of Avani Romani, she's a certified divorce and financial advisor. She says to look beyond your normal monthly expenses, such as vacational trips, vacations, anything that you would normally need on your daily basis. You want to look beyond that for saving, especially like any replacements that may occur when you have your own household, such as like a dishwasher or a furnace. So it's definitely important to save. When you know that you're in the process of getting a divorce, try to save as much as possible, even if a financial burden is an issue. Try to save as much as possible, because it's going to be one income versus two incomes when you're on your own.
Emotional stages of divorce. Denial. It provides comfort as it allows people to distance from overwhelming reality.
Yeah, so a lot of people can get denial, like, well, it wasn't my fault while we getting married, He didn't support anything I did, or just not taking accountability for both actions in a marriage. And you definitely don't want to do that when getting a divorce.
Stop doing the blaming game.
Right.
Anger. People suppress their emotions while in denial. Emotions unleash when they evolve to the next phase.
Yeah, so anger is a big one. And if you had anger when you were in the marriage, I'm sure you're going to have anger when you get out, especially resentment. Don't have no type of resentment towards your partner. Mm-hmm. Like, if you were not happy and you're getting out of the marriage, at least try to take time to be happy. Don't still be stuck up on the past and be angry.
I agree. Bargaining. Going back and forth during this stage. Questioning their decision.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. Oh, well, should I stay with them? Are the kids better off with parents staying together? And I typically see that a lot in homes. But you got to think about it. If it's a hostile environment and you guys are arguing a lot, it's a high risk for the children to become resentful against both parents. Mm-hmm. It also can be a toxic relationship for their future. They think it's okay for people to be arguing or yelling, and honestly, a child can see when parents aren't happy. So staying in a marriage because you have children is not a reason to want to stay in a marriage.
No, it's not. And plus, especially if you feel stuck on that decision, and like you said, Shanara, like, it's hard sometimes, because sometimes you're thinking if you made the wrong decision or not, and like you said, it does affect the children. And sometimes you just gotta like really sit back and really think wiseful of the decisions you make, if this is something that you really want to do, because sometimes you make a decision, it's something that you'll regret later.
Right. So choose wisely before getting married. Definitely want to take that in consideration.
Depression. The length of this stage is often long, also different. In this stage, make sure you have a support system and accept help.
Yeah, so don't lose yourself after getting divorced, and, try to pick up the pieces with who you are as a person. Start dating yourself. Start getting into the things that you enjoy doing prior to getting married. I've seen a lot of people that, gotten a divorce over something as far as infidelity, and they feel very insecure about themselves. And then they just lose themselves, and they don't take showers, they don't do their hair, they binge eat. That's a lot of things. People, when they're stressed out, sometimes they eat a whole bunch of ice cream. I know I like ice cream, but I'm working on my summer figure. But yeah, like, when you're stressed out, try not to lose yourself in the loop.
Yeah, you have friends. Like your friends that care for you, call them, even just find something, do something.
Something
Just,
positive,
yes,
yeah.
something positive where you're not in that where you feel like you're not rock in that dark place. Knowing if, especially if somebody is, saying they want to help you, take it and, allow them to uplift you and encourage you.
Especially if you know this is the best decision you made. Don't beat yourself up, Try to be able to get out of that mindset of, well, everything's all my fault, or even if there was some things that you've done in your relationship that may have made a big part in the divorce, but try to get yourself back on track and getting to know who you are as a person.
Yes. Acceptance. Finally accepting it and at peace with it. You are able to embrace the future. You may at times revisit prior stages at times, except you are no longer consumed by those feelings. You are claiming your life back.
Yes, that's very important. Gather your thoughts and claim who you are as a person and get back on track and spend some time with yourself. If you have children, spend some time with your children and then get back on the dating world. Enjoy life.
Yes, and I agree. That's what you need to do. Just even when you get to that point, even at that moment where you revisit, like I have said, sometimes you are, and that's normal, but you have accepted it. And you're going to go through them stages. It's normal. But at least at this time where you're accepting it and you're claiming your life back, just now it's time to move forward. Divorce does damage children.
Yeah, so some emotions children may experience. For young children, they may struggle between two households, being able to figure out, did I pack everything I needed to go to my dad's house, or am I going to be able to take my electronics to my mom's house, and they worry about the parents that may stop loving them because the parents stop loving each other. Try to be able to communicate with any child at any age, especially if they're at the age to understand, but try to communicate with the children that, your love for them is not going to change even though you guys are not together. As far as grade school children, sometimes they feel as though everything's their fault. They're at that age where it's like, well, my parents broke up because I was getting bad grades, or my parents broke up because I was misbehaving in school. And they think everything's their fault. So you got to be able to communicate with those children and let them know this is a decision that we made. This has nothing to do with you. It's not nothing that you did on your end that makes us feel as though the reason why we got a divorce.
Yeah, children perceive it differently than adults. Like you said, Shanara, it's like they'll be like, was it me? Was it the relationship? What happened? There's apparent reason. Or the kind of thinking can sabotage the way children think about relationships when they become adults themselves.
Yeah, a lot of things that happen when you're younger can either sabotage your relationships in the future or be a positive enforcement in regards to the future. A foundation is very important. In regards to growth, and a lot of people don't look at that when they become an adult. As far as teenagers, teenagers think they know it all, but when parents are going through divorce, they're very angry. They're very angry, very emotional. They don't know how to control their emotions. That's why a lot of teenagers spaz out, go 0 to 100 with anger. So with divorce, they play the blame game. Well, Dad, it's your fault because you did this, or Mom, it's your fault because you did this. And they don't know how to control their emotions. So that's why you need to sit down and talk to them, especially teenagers, maybe like an adult, and let them know, this is not your dad's fault and this is not your mom's fault. Don't feel as though it's one of us faults, and don't feel angry. It is okay. Don't feel angry that we're getting a divorce.
A reduced level of day-to-day father involvement has a particular negative effect on teens. Meanwhile, the single parent at home carries the bulk of the responsibility for day-to-day parenting. So that can also be an effect on them as well.
Yeah, children, depending on what the arrangements is, In the divorce, children is going to lose daily contact with one parent or the other because they're living with one parent. Financial hardship may follow a divorce, and that may be difficult for children, having to move from a smaller home or even into an apartment.
Oh, yeah.
Living arrangements can affect how they feel, and even moving into a different school zone,
Oh, yeah.
losing your friends and then got to start over with new friends because your parents is not getting along,
No.
and now you can't graduate from the school that you wanted to graduate from. Like, it takes a toll on children, more than we expect,
Yeah, it does.
Sometimes when we are going through things as adults, we don't take any of that in consideration, and you got to take a lot of heed into consideration when getting a divorce of how that's going to affect the children. I know that we are adults and we do make the final decision, but try to be sentimental in regards to their emotions as well.
Yes, and I totally agree with you on that, Shanara. That we need that is a big thing, is to acknowledge when they're hurt as well.
Communicate, not only with if you're not communicating in your relationship, that's one thing, and you guys are getting a divorce, but try to communicate with your children. Try to be open and transparent with your children, because in the long run, when they see the changes in the environment happen when they're young, rather they're 5 years old or 15 years old, they are going to look at that as an adult.
Yes, I totally agree.
I'm sure there's a lot of emotions that's going through someone's mind when getting a divorce, but we know it's not going to be easy, and there's a lot of things that may come into place, but some things, they may occur. You have to take heed is fear may creep up on you,
We fear the future, the unknown. How will I manage? What will I do? Where will we live? How will I pay the bills? What if my kids are taken from me? Who will ever want to be in a relationship with me? I'm going to be alone all my life. Look, here's the thing about the future. Nobody knows what is going to happen. We have no control over the future either. The fact remains, the only thing or person we can control is ourselves.
That's true. So some ways that some ideas that we're actually going to give before closing out as some coping skills with separation and a divorce.
We can use fear as a sign that we are on the verge of something new and different, and most importantly, something that will help us to evolve into a better human being.
Yeah, so recognize that it's okay to have different feelings. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to be exhausted or frustrated. It's okay to have different types of feelings when getting a divorce, but you got to be able to take heed into who you are as a person and be able to bounce back from those emotions.
Overcoming a fear immediately empowers us to take further steps.
Yeah, so give yourself a break. Don't be so hard on yourself when going through a divorce.
Okay, what is stronger or more important to you? Your fear or your belief that perhaps life will work out after all? If you can have faith that the future holds new promises, opportunities, and possibilities, then it will. Try on a new perspective. Replace it with one of hope and optimism. But a change in attitude not only changes the way you think, it changes your reality.
Yeah, don't go through things alone. Share your emotions with your friends and family. Take care of yourself emotionally and physically.
Choose what you might actually gain by facing your fears. And what do you gain from not facing your fears? What is the cost to you? Make a list of both sides of the coin, the gifts, the costs, and it will become obvious to you what to choose to do.
Yeah, be good to yourself and to your body. Take time to actually exercise, eat well, and get on a positive, normal routine when going through a divorce.
Learn to turn off that negative mind chatter that keeps telling you to be afraid and stay where you are. The little demon in your head that tells you everything that you should fear and all the things that you cannot do or be or have. The voice that exists is in everyone's mind. Just notice it when it starts yapping. Thank it for sharing and let it go.
Yeah, you got to renew your mind constantly. And that's not only because you're going through a divorce, because you're living life, because you're going through a relationship, because of everything. Renewing your mind is very important. Take time to explore your interests and set goals for yourself. Definitely set goals for yourself.
Think of all the things that you have conquered, accomplished, and done right in your lifetime. Don't minimize anything. Know that if you have overcome odds in the past, that you can and will do it again.
Yeah, get your life back. Take initiative of getting your life back in order. Although it's going to be different from going from having a spouse to being on your own, try to get back to being you, being you.
Yes.
So, one thing I actually want to close out with some tips for talking to your kids when going through a divorce. I think we said this before, but just remember to reassure and listen to them. Make sure your kids know that the divorce is not their fault. Listen to their concerns when they have concerns, and be compassionate in regards to how they feel about things as well. Not be so direct in regards to your responses when they're communicating with you. Try to maintain stability and routines, Try to keep your kids on a daily routine, on a weekly routine. If you guys have any arrangements as far as weekends, let them know what's going on, and try to be consistent and committed to when you're getting your kids on the weekend. And lastly, let your children know that they can rely on you. Make and keep realistic promises. Don't overly confide in them about your feelings about your divorce. You definitely don't want to get them in between that. And don't involve your children in the conflict. We always say, do not let the children be your messenger. If you have to communicate with your ex-spouse, communicate with them directly. You definitely don't want to bring the child in the middle of your issues. It's always supposed to be positivity throughout the transition of being single from being in a relationship.
Okay, thank you for tuning in. Check us out on Facebook, Uncommon Women, IG, Uncommon 3 Women. Also, you can subscribe on iTunes and on Google Play. We're also looking for sponsors, events, and poets, as well as vendors. Any topics you like for us to talk about, you can email us at uncommonwomenpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and we're also guest speakers at a faith, love, and hope retreat that's actually happening August 2nd to 4th. If anyone's actually interested in coming to that, it's a women's retreat, but if anyone's actually interested in coming to that, please email us as well. It's definitely going to be an exciting weekend. We're going to love on each other, and we're definitely going to have a topic that you do not want to miss. So please email us for more details in regards to that. Again, that's August 2nd to the 4th. So listeners, please remember to stay uncommon.
Story. You're a daughter of a king, don't you know your royalty? So take that